as Black women, our voice is so unique, and it was just such a gift to have everybody in one room all doing things that were super specific to us. Because there's certainly been times when I've written an act recognizing that I'm going to go and present to a room of mostly white people, and I'm like, will anybody get this joke?
Yeah, exactly.
And and like, especially when I have like my Black auntie part of my set, and a group of Black women appreciates that in a much different way. And people might be like, oh, cute, but it's like, but it's different when you have a Black auntie. You're like, I visualize
this because either you have one or you are one. So you can relate differently. You're not just hearing something funny. You're hearing something funny that resonates with you,
Exactly. It makes the difference.
Hi everyone, welcome back. This is season 6 of Woefully Funny. This week, my guest is Chicago-based improviser, stand-up comedian, musical comedy artist, film critic, theater critic, and writer, Sheri Flanders. Welcome to the show, Sheri.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Before we get started, can you share your social media information with us?
I'm on the socials as Sheri Flanders. I believe on Facebook it's Ms. Flands, MIZFLANS. But if you put in Sheri Flanders, that will come in as well. Also on the Insta. I'm probably going to go off Twitter, so at some point, so I wouldn't bother with that one.
Or X. It's called X now.
X. Oh, that's right.
Whatever.
X. I don't know.
Dumb.
It's a dumpster fire right now. Anyway, I'm just on it, just watching the bitter end at this point. But
same.
I am not on the TikToks because I am lazy, and I'm just like, I don't know if I have the energy to do video content every single day, all day. Like, it's just too much.
It's a lot.
That's where I'm at.
Okay, thank you so much. So I will include Sheri's social media information in the show notes. So I'm glad that we're getting to do this. And you and I met in June at the Black Women in Comedy Laugh Fest that was held in New York City. And we got to perform, I think, were we on at least 2 shows together.
At least 2. We did one stand-up show at Don't Tell Mama. Was it Don't Tell Mama? Yeah.
Yes.
No, we did the music show there, but then I feel like we were on a second show too. Yeah, I think it was 2.
Yeah, I think they were they both? I think they were both at Don't Tell Mama.
They were both that's why I'm getting confused. They were both at Don't Tell Mama, but one was the music show and one was the non-music show.
Yes, because I think the non-music show was where I had all my family. I had like 20 family members there.
Your crew was there.
Yeah, my whole crew was there. And it was, what was really touching is that even though like I grew up in Canada, my parents most of my parents' siblings lived in New York City at some point. Cool. There's still a few who live there, but most have moved to other parts of the States. So I let the ones who are still in the States know that I was going to be there. And so I ended up staying with one of my aunts, and my cousin told her father, who used to live there, who now lives in Philadelphia, and he came to New York City for that. And then her mother came, and another cousin came and brought friends. Another uncle came up from Pennsylvania, and and then so awesome. it was amazing to see everyone. And then at one point, I can't remember who was on the stage, but my father's brother and my cousin came in late and made a whole thing.
Oh, that's right. Who was that? And they got roasted.
I can't remember who was on. I was mortified because I was like, I get it. They were happy to see me. I was happy to see them too, but it was like, there's somebody on stage. Like, so I was just like, just sit here. And,
That was so funny. I remember that. That was hilarious.
I was mortified.
mortified. No,
yeah, exactly. Because it's one thing you come in late, just like come in, sit down quietly. But my uncle was like, hey, everything.
I was bringing big uncle energy.
But it was so nice to have them there and for the support. And then the next show, the next day, the musical show, you blew me away. You were so fantastic.
Oh,
Because yeah, you did music, because you did a few, you did an opening number with
yeah.
Talia that was really
Mm-hmm.
funny.
Oh, we had
And
so much
then
fun.
during your set, you did like musical stand up, and then you riffed on a woman who was like some kind of auditor or something. It was so funny. It was so good. As my friend and I were like, "Oh my god!" Like, oh Lord, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. I was blown away.
Oh, thank
So
you. Well,
so
that's my
wonderful.
wheelhouse. Like our stand up is like my newer part of my art form, but improv I've been doing like I guess 15 years now. So I'm
Wow.
like, what? No words? I got this.
Yeah, because it was fantastic.
Oh,
It was
thank you.
fantastic. So you just mentioned that you've been doing improv and stuff for 15 years. How did you get started, and how did that morph into um stand up?
Yeah, boy, it's been a long road. So, my husband and I, when I first met my husband, we were dating. He was
He
actually
was very,
working.
very sweet, by the way. I met
Oh,
him there.
he's delightful. He
Josh was
loves you
very
too.
nice. Yeah, he's so
He said
nice.
hi.
Hi.
He was working on a comedy script, and so I started helping him with that, and a screenplay actually. And we were reading it. We're like, oh, this is not as funny as we wanted it to be. So we started taking classes at the Second City. And he started taking the writing class, and I started taking the improv class. And he didn't like the writing class, but I was like, the improv class is fun. I'm having a great time. And so an outshoot of that was we just started doing improv because we just enjoyed it, and it started as this fun thing. Over time it started to bleed into our professional business because we are business consultants. So we use that sometimes as kind of team building, board development, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But then also, like, I used to perform back in the day, high school, post high school community theater, and but I had stopped and gone for a real job and all those things that you do at a certain age. But the joy of being on stage, improv kind of got me back into it, and I never had considered myself like a comedian up until that point. And I just remember, like, at some random point, someone had me as part of their interviewed me as part of their video, some project, and they were like, what do you want me to put on the bottom of the screen? Can I, comedian? And I was like, fuck, I guess so. Because like
Sure.
improvising is this bigger art that has a foot in theater and a foot in comedy and a foot in kind of practical application. So we're able to go a long time without actually having to call ourselves comedians. But then at a certain point I was like, fuck, I guess I have to. um, and yeah, and then just along the way you interact with so many stand-ups, and I ended up taking a stand-up class, and then I was like, okay, I guess I can do this. And one thing led to another, and there I am.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Was this year your first year at at the festival in New York
Yeah.
City? Yeah, same for me.
Yeah,
Same
I
for
didn't know what to
me.
expect. I was
Neither
like,
did I. Neither did I. I know it was because I think the only time I got to see like everybody was the
mm-hmm.
first night and the last
And the
night.
last night.
Yeah, it was the first night and the last night. And there were a lot of shows,
Mm-hmm.
every night. And yeah, there were people that, like, just from, because we had a Facebook group and we could interact with each other there. And I'm glad I got to meet a lot of people that I'd been interacting with
Yeah.
on Facebook, but there were a whole bunch that I only saw them the first night, and I only saw them the last night,
Yeah,
you know.
same. Like, I was so glad when we met because you're super funny, and I was
Oh, thank
dying
you.
at
Thank
your
you.
act. It was so good. And so I was glad that we also got a chance to like connect and talk,
Yes.
because it's just like there were I was like, everybody's so funny and talented, and then there were like ships passing in the night, and I will like
Yes.
potentially never get a chance to talk to all these people again. So
Right, right. Because
yeah.
there were people I wanted I want to see their performance, I want to
Mm-hmm.
see their act and everything. Because there was a woman there who, I think this was her third or fourth time. I saw her the first night,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. I
Yeah.
never got to see her perform or anything. Like, we've
Oh,
performed online and
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like we knew each other before.
Hmm.
We'd never met that was New York City was the first time we'd met face to face,
Yeah.
but we'd known each other for a couple of years, at least 2
Yeah.
years.
Who was that?
Alma Marfo
Okay. Yeah, I
from
know her.
Boston.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we had met on an online show,
Mm-hmm.
and we had done multiple shows together. And then like if I was running online shows at one point, and I invited her on a few
Mm-hmm.
times. She'd run a few shows, I'd go on her show and stuff like that.
Nice.
um but I only met her that opening night, the first night, and then
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember if I saw her the last night.
Yeah. There's so
Yeah, because
many
I
people.
so many people, so many people. Yeah. Yeah. So do you think you'll go back next year?
I hope so. Yeah, I'm gonna submit and fingers crossed I get in again. Because it was such a good experience.
It was.
I really, like I said, I improv's my wheelhouse. So I fully felt like a perpetrator coming in there. I'm like, I feel like I've done it, but like, same thing with with calling myself a comedian, then it's like calling yourself a stand-up. I mean, I'm still at that, like just trying to fly underneath the radar. Because I really have a lot of respect for people who have been doing it for so much longer than I have, and it is hard. And it takes so
Mhm.
much hard work. So, and I learned so much from watching the sets of so many really talented women who've just been doing it for years. And I'm like, I'm trying to be like you. So
Do
it
you
was it was
find?
great.
Yeah, no, yeah, it was. I didn't know what to expect, but I
Mm-hmm.
knew at the very least,
Mm-hmm.
like it was such a beautiful feeling to be in a room full of people who looked like me. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, because that never
Yes.
happens. That never happens.
It's
You
so true.
know?
I
Yeah.
mean, in improv especially, it's mostly white dudes.
Hmm.
And no knock on the white dudes. Some of them
Yeah.
are, my best friends, and I've learned so much from them comedically.
Yes.
But as Black women, our voice is so unique, and it was just such a gift to have everybody in one room all doing things that were super specific to us. Because there's certainly been times when I've written an act recognizing that I'm going to go and present to a room of mostly white people, and I'm like, will anybody get this joke?
Yeah. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and so like, especially I have like my Black auntie part of my set, and a group of Black women appreciates that in a much different
Yes.
way. And other people might be
Yes.
like, oh, cute, but it's
Yeah,
like,
that's
but
cute.
it's different when you have a Black auntie. You're like, I visualize this person.
Yes, because either you have one or you are one. So
Mhm.
you relate differently. You're not just hearing something funny. You're hearing
Yes,
something funny that resonates with you, you know?
exactly. It makes the
Yeah.
difference.
Oh, true, true, true.
Mhm.
Because it was just that alone, that feeling of I don't have to explain my jokes,
Mhm.
don't have people trying to touch my hair,
Bless.
don't like that, don't have people trying to like relate to me that, oh, my Black friend, this, no, you just relate to me, which is what
Yes,
we,
even
which is just what we want in general, just, you know what I mean? So,
exactly. As an aside, I feel like this is almost even worse than touching hair, but I've had like non-Black people like want to know all the details of exactly how like I achieve in a style. And I'm like,
yes.
your hair will never do that.
Yeah.
Why do you
Exactly.
care? Like, it's
Yes.
not like you're gonna go to your hairdresser and be like, give me that look. Like, if it's two Black women having that discussion, okay, we might
Hmm.
actually go get that
Exactly.
look. You're not gonna do it, so you
Yeah.
don't need to know. So stop asking me.
Exactly.
It's so irritating.
Or if they feel they're very knowledgeable about Black hair and they're telling you,
Are you a
like,
hairdresser? I don't care.
yeah, exactly.
Otherwise.
Exactly. Because maybe about 3 weeks ago, I had
Mhm.
someone tell me, oh, I really like your extensions, and I was
Oh.
like, these are not extensions, this is my hair. And they're like,
Oh.
oh, well, they
Yeah.
look very nice. I'm like, well, you could have just, in my head, I'm like, you could have just said they look very nice, your hair is very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have
Oh,
to like your extensions. Fuck off.
I
What's
had it
wrong with
braids
you?
once, and somebody was like, I like your dreads. I'm like, these are braids. You don't even
There's
know
a
what you're talking about.
ex-
Just say I like your
I just like your hair. I like the thing you did with your hair. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
sufficient. We're cool with that.
It's
That's
enough.
okay.
You
That's
look
okay.
pretty. period.
Yeah, exactly. Just end of story.
Yeah.
End of story. But yeah, that was such a wonderful experience.
Mhm.
You know, like I missed the retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
that's right, you
wasn't I
weren't
wasn't able
there.
to, I wasn't able to go to that because I also didn't want to leave my
Yeah,
friend
yeah,
who
yeah.
came down with me and was driving me around, and
Oh, you should have
it's
had him hang
super.
with Josh.
Yeah, it's true. We could have done that. We could have done that.
Next year, they'll just
Yeah,
hang out
next
together.
year.
They'll have brunch.
Yeah, because I wanted yeah, I didn't want to leave my friend
Yeah, I hear that.
on his own and everything. And we weren't sure if we were staying or if we were gonna stay and leave on Monday or leave on Sunday. So we're still up in the air and
Yeah,
everything.
I remember that.
But yeah, if hopefully I'm able to go again. Hopefully I get accepted again and I can
Yeah,
go. And
I hope so too.
yeah, because it was great. It was great. And I felt the real like comedian experience there
Yeah.
with especially the Saturday, because the Saturday I had 3 shows
Yeah.
and it was just boom, 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 boom.
I have
It
multiple
was
shows at night. I'm like, oh,
we
I'm not
did
used
like
to that.
20,000 steps that day. It was like,
Yes.
and it was hot and all kinds of stuff because I think I was staying in Queens with
Mm-hmm.
my aunt, and then I think Saturday the first show was at Don't Tell Mama in Manhattan,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went to Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and then from Brooklyn we went back into Manhattan.
It's
Like
a
this.
hard city to get across, I feel.
Yeah,
Like,
and everything is so like it everything took forever. Like
yeah,
it just
it's a
the
lot easier to get
day.
across Chicago, I feel.
Yeah.
Is that for same for you in your city?
Yeah, well, Ottawa is very small in comparison
Yeah.
to Chicago or New York.
Yeah.
Toronto would be comparable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto would be comparable. And
Or
I would say Toronto's easier
mm-hmm.
to get across, the like to get from one end to the other or to various parts than New York,
Yeah.
I
I
would
hear
say.
Toronto is similar to Chicago, so I have to go there and visit. I've heard that they're
Yes, that's I've
sister
heard that
cities.
too. Yes, I've heard that too. I went to Chicago like 20 plus years ago, and I wasn't there very long, so I don't really remember it. But
Time to
I've heard
come
this.
back.
It's time to come back. I've heard the similarities that Toronto and Chicago are very similar in like
Yeah.
infrastructure and
I
stuff
guess
like
some
that.
movies in the olden days would like use shots of Toronto and be like, yeah,
Yeah, that's the
Chicago.
thing. Toronto is usually
Mhm.
used as a backdrop, or it's like fake New York, fake Chicago or
Mhm.
something. It's a yeah, it's got a very bustling film industry,
That's awesome.
so that's pretty cool. Um what kind of shows, like what is the comedy scene like in Chicago? Like the daily grind that you would do.
I would say it's hard for me to say now because it's like the post. Are we post pandemic? But we'll call it that for now. Because
Mhm.
I'm doing less than I used to, and I think a lot of things didn't make it through the pandemic, and some things are just now starting up. But it's a good scene. There's a lot going on. I mean, having so many friends in the scene and on the socials, there's always somebody posting something where I'm like, I didn't know that was going on.
Right.
So it's big enough where there's a bounty, there's a place for you to find a spot for yourself. There's enough stages for you to create something of
Okay.
your own if that's what you want to do. So yeah, there's a lot going on. Like I said, I'm mostly the improv, music improv, stand up, opening for somebody, whatever. But I'm a little bit all around. There's plenty. It's a good city. And even having said that, though, we export a lot of our comedians. So at a certain point, people who are mostly younger than I, do pick up and move elsewhere if they're really like, trying to make a
Mhm.
go of it on that
Right.
that next level. So
Right. Same here.
it's
The exodus is
possible.
usually to Toronto,
Hmm.
and then from Toronto to either New York
Or LA.
or LA. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
and and then sometimes I come back. So
Yes,
there's
yes,
that
yes.
reality to it. But yeah, but otherwise, I think if you're just like looking to get out there, it's a good place to hone your craft.
Okay,
You can get the reps in.
good,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, like I started comedy when I moved to Ottawa,
Mm-hmm.
and I lived in Toronto for 17 years, and you would think that I would have started there, but I remember at the time feeling that I was too scared to start to begin with.
Yeah.
And I, like, in hindsight, I think it would have been way too overwhelming
Oh yeah.
to start off in like such a big market sort of thing, that I'm grateful that I started here.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then like like I'll be going to Toronto next week. I've gone to Toronto to do shows
Mm-hmm.
um many times over the last few years, and
Yeah.
I think having started somewhere and like got my grounding in like a smaller but strong
Mm-hmm.
market, because Ottawa has churned out like some comedy juggernauts,
Yeah.
like Norm Macdonald, Mike McDonald, Tom Green,
Mm-hmm.
John Doerr. Like there are a whole
Oh,
Jeremy Hotz. There are a whole bunch of like world class, internationally known comics that have come out of Ottawa. So
yeah.
there's something in the air or the water or something that breeds like strong comedians.
That's awesome because, like, I'm
Yeah,
from Indianapolis, and like, we don't have too much from Indianapolis, but we do have David Letterman and Jim Gaffigan. So I'm like,
mm,
okay, so
yeah,
well, that's a high bar.
yeah, exactly. You went big, like
Yeah, so
huge, like two of the biggest, exactly. So that's
or
the
Indiana, I should say, Indiana as a state.
Indiana.
We don't have a lot of good going for us both, so we have to hype the little that we do have.
But what I find really incredible, and I've noticed it whenever I've traveled for comedy, that
Mhm.
no matter what stage, like whether you're new in it or you're a veteran or you're in the middle somewhere,
Mhm.
that we all go through the same things.
Yeah.
We can all relate to each other. Like that's like there are things as a comic that relate you to everyone, that you can talk to somebody who's traveled the world, has made millions of dollars, but you still
Mhm.
connect on the fact that you're both comics.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like whether it's the way of thinking or whatever it is, there's
Mhm.
something about being a comic that is
Yeah,
relatable to most other comics, and I like that.
I do too.
I like
I
that.
really do like that. And it was interesting because you would hear when I first started, I would hear like, oh, the competition and it's rough and da 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 da, and brace yourself. But it's actually been super welcoming for the most part.
Yeah, same
I
with
felt
me.
like people are always like, oh, good for you, and get on up there, and here's some tips and all the things,
Yeah,
and I felt embraced.
yeah, same with me, same with me. I haven't been able to do it as often as I was doing this in the past, but I like to go to shows, like when a touring headliner or something comes
Mm-hmm.
through, like go to the clubs and watch the show,
Yeah.
and like interact with them, talk with them and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like I know I did that a lot during a few years ago during the pandemic, that I was at the clubs like all the time,
Mm-hmm.
just to not necessarily as a performer, but just to
Yeah.
go,
In the
and I,
audience.
I found that was a great education,
Yeah.
just to see, to watch them perform,
Mm-hmm.
watch their process of like prepping before they go on stage, how they
Mm-hmm.
interact with the other comics, with the staff, with with people who are there to see them. Like all of
Yeah.
that, I find all of that's important, and I
Mm-hmm.
really I like talking with them.
Yeah.
I like talking with them, because I've been fortunate enough that I've been um, able to perform with some really strong headliners, and
That's awesome.
I'm always open to feedback and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and they've been really gracious, which is nice. That's nice. To I haven't I've heard of people having like bad interactions and
Oh, there's
stuff
always
like that.
somebody.
There's always somebody. I'm fortunate
Always
that
one
knockwood.
tick.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I've been
most people are
fortunate
nice.
that, yeah, exactly. I've been fortunate that I haven't had like a negative
Yeah.
experience with anyone. That's always been really, really helpful and kind and like a good experience,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Do you find that your background in improv helps you as a stand-up? Do you think, is it helpful?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's interesting. It didn't like it's a different skill. It's 100% different skill. And in my mind, when I started doing stand up more seriously, I thought that improvising was going to help on kind of like the crowd work riffing end. Like that
Yeah,
was
that's what
where
I
I thought
thought.
it would. And of
Me
course
too.
it does, obviously, but where it has actually helped more is ideal generation. Because if I feel like if I had started stand up earlier or previous to my improv days, my writing of my material would have been so much harder. And now
Mm.
I feel like I can vet, test ideas, and kind of know what's going to work for me, or not in a more, and obviously you never 100% know until you get it up on stage, and you know,
Right.
because it's how you deliver it and all that and
Yes,
refining it.
yes.
That's part of the process, but just like getting that first draft down, like it's helped me 100% in that, where I can just be like, this idea is probably going to work, this idea is going to work, and this is
Oh,
probably not,
wow.
and just like, you know, and that's also part of me where I think my biggest strength is writer's brain, and so
Okay.
even above performance. So but like the ability to improvise, like I can put that into my writing, and it just, yeah, I can go through that process faster than
Oh,
I
wow.
otherwise would have if I had before I started improv. So yeah.
Okay. See, I wouldn't have I I've never done improv. I've never tried it. I wanted to, and then pandemic hit. I was thinking
Yeah.
of taking a course, and then pandemic hit, and I just haven't. The place that I wanted to take it
Mm-hmm.
folded during the pandemic.
Yeah,
I
a lot of
think
places
I
didn't
think
make
they've
it.
opened up, but they've opened up like differently and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
but I know during the pandemic it folded. And I had I taken it, I would have taken it thinking that it would help me with crowd work
And
or
it
help
will.
me with stuff. I never thought that. I never like the generation of ideas and being able to vet ideas better never entered my consciousness in terms of that.
Because even with the crowd work, it's not like, and this is something that I just didn't discover till, you know, started doing the stand up, was that like the relationship, um to me as an improviser with another improviser on stage is different than the relationship with me as a stand up to the audience.
Right, because
And
the audience isn't supposed to interact with us.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
it's a little more, I don't know how to say this, but it's a little bit more hostile
Yeah,
or
more
slash
antagonistic.
a little bit
Yes.
more antagonistic and a little more, I don't know if this is the right word, but patriarchal, where it's like you are listening to me and you're
Yeah.
gonna listen.
Yes,
You know,
yes, yes.
and so it's not a one-to-one comparison in that skill. Yes, the give and take and the coming up with ideas is part of it, but it's a different demeanor. So it's more of a, which also is part of improv, it's more of a character choice, when I'm on stage, because I'm definitely like I'm definitely like a more like wicked version of myself as a stand-up. If
Same,
that
me
makes
too.
sense. You
Yes.
know, which is,
Yes.
I don't know, do you ever get this like sometimes I'll tell a joke and I'm like, oh, that joke's mean. I would never say that in real life, but I'm gonna say it on
I'm gonna say it on stage. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, for
Like
sure, for
I would
sure.
feel super bad if, you know, in the real world, like saying this in like polite company.
Exactly. Like I always
So
say that my on stage persona, like it's still me, but it's
yeah,
like sassy me. So
yeah. It's like
yes.
it's bitch version of me, like on
Yeah,
the worst day.
exactly. Exactly. It's a more aggressive, don't give a fuck version of me.
Yeah,
like if I
yeah.
didn't care about feelings or anything like that,
Yeah, it's like I've
that's
had
the
a
version
bad
on
day and
stage.
I'm 2 drinks in, but I'm also happy.
Exactly.
It's like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, because I know I think we all have a persona, like a performance persona
Mm-hmm.
that may be very similar to
Mm-hmm.
your real life or vastly different to your real life. Um, and I think it's necessary to be able to tell, for
Yeah.
myself, it's necessary to be able to tell like the type of jokes that I tell, to
Yeah.
have that sort of um I wouldn't say I guess aggressive in terms of what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. Because yeah,
Stuff
like
that
we
you wouldn't
said,
say in polite company.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like I would never, our polite company, or very, like a very, somewhere where I'm
Yeah.
very, very, very comfortable,
Yeah,
sort of
exactly. Like
thing.
besties only sort of
Yes,
conversations. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So how do you is coming up with material for your set?
Mm-hmm.
Do you use this, is it the same process, do you use the same process for improv that you use for stand up and coming up with ideas, or are they like two completely different processes?
Well, like once you get into it, there's a similarity, but improv is very much in the moment, and it is community based. So it's like if I come in with an idea, but then you come in and you add something to that idea, we're now running with this joint idea.
uh,
So I will let go of the of part of what I came in with, to run with this joint part, and it'll take it on a different tangent that neither of us could predict, and then continues on that path. So with myself, they're just me putting in the input.
mhm.
But it relates in that you um, at least I should say, come up with ideas in that tangential way of thinking that I wouldn't necessarily have access to if I hadn't practiced improv.
Okay.
Um, so so in I mean, and for me it's more, it's just like it's similar in that it's just like, oh, there's a funny thought that I had. But part of improv teaches you how to vet thoughts. So there's your first thought, the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of something. And then there's your second thought and your third thought. So a lot of times, I'm sure you've seen it, you go into clubs, you'll see 8-10 comedians say the same kind of basic joke, whether it's something in politics or something in pop culture. Everybody has that same one joke, they're going to have it. So but what's the next joke? What's the next joke that you could possibly make?
Mhm.
If you throw that first joke out knowing that everybody's going to have that joke, or it's
Yeah,
just too obvious, like, if somebody's doing a setup and you're like, I know what the punchline's going to
yeah,
be,
yes,
so
yes.
improv teaches you, don't, or you can, but throw that joke out,
Hmm.
and go to a second or third joke, or is there a new spin on that first thought that is going to make it different?
Right,
So you know it's so some of it's like thought association, word association, and then
right.
some of it is just vetting ideas quickly,
Hmm.
in the moment, and then also dropping one idea and moving to the next one, which is probably actually the most important part in terms of writing too, because it's like when you write, writing is rewriting, so basically editing. So it's like you wrote something, it's a rough draft, you're going to go
Hmm.
back through it, the second time, and you're going to make it better. A part of that making it better process is recognizing this is crap, this is
Yes.
superfluous, I don't need it, but
Yes.
also doing it in a very quick, like painless way. And when you first start, you're like, but I loved this idea and I crafted it
Yeah.
and I raised it and
It's
fed
my
it in my mouth like a
baby.
baby bird, and
Exactly.
and you have such love for every idea, and it's so precious. But once you get to the point where you're doing scene after scene after scene after scene after scene, and you don't remember any of them, and it's fine that you don't remember any of them, then you just get very quick about
Yes.
yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and very confident in what your and this is where I think it's more stand up, more confident in your voice and what is funny and what's specifically going to be funny coming out of your mouth, which I think for me was one of the hardest things
And that's something that comes with experience.
Yeah, it took me a while because a lot of comedians I think had, I would say, I don't really know how to phrase this, maybe the gift of stereotype, where it was like, oh, I fall into this slot as a performer, and it's very obvious that I am that person, and so therefore I can run with this very established vein of comedy that already exists for me. And I didn't feel that I fell into any obvious slot as a type of performer, and so I had to kind of like,
right, because you have such a varied background that it's hard, it would be more difficult to define you and your comedy.
I couldn't get typecast in that way, and which is a challenge when you're trying to get cast for something, but it's good, because then
your voice is always unique.
Your voice is always unique, yeah, and you've got more latitude as to, well, I'm not bound by the constraints of this, so I'm gonna do all this. So yeah, so it's been fun, but it definitely, improv helped with that, and stand-up has helped with that.
Awesome. So I've noticed that for myself, it's like I can come up with things quicker than I did when I first started. And I think it's just using my brain in that way, the honing that skill of thinking, okay, here's a thought, like what are the funny things of this thought, or if I see something, what's funny, even if I see something that's not funny, like what could be funny about it? Like what would make this funny? What's the funny in this, or what can I add to make it funny? I find that's like a muscle that you're working all the time, to the point that it's almost automatic.
Exactly.
It's the point, like sometimes I wish I could turn it off and just like appreciate something for what it is, instead of like, how can I make this car accident funny? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Or in a moment where you're like, I'm not supposed to be making any jokes, but
exactly, I'm supposed to just be focused on the moment, but I can't. My brain's like, all these things are going off in my brain about,
yep. I write film and theater criticism, and like so often, like my entry point is like, well, you know what? They did miss this opportunity to do this, that, or the other. That would have been hilarious instead of the boring thing that they did. So I'm like rewriting other people's movies when I'm shouldn't just be watching and enjoying the movie.
That's I'm sure that must be like a major challenge, because it's not because you're not just a critic of movies or theaters, you're also a creator of them. So it's probably a challenge to assess something as it's presented, rather than like, oh, this is what I would have done, or oh, this could have been done, you know what, do you know what I mean? Like, to look at it in terms of, this is what it is, and I'm just going to assess it based on what's here, versus this is what it is, and this is how I would do it better.
I mean, look, sometimes there is a
or
place
differently.
Sometimes there is a place for that type of analysis, but usually I just compartmentalize, because there's so much. I write about different types of media, and sometimes at different levels, and so it's like I don't want to judge like here's a bunch of beginners doing a play at the same way I'm going to analyze, and here's some pros who've been doing this for decades. I'm going to be harsher on them, because I'm like, better than I do. So therefore, I will feel more comfortable going in, versus where like, okay, I see what you guys were going for, and here's the positive thing. So so it's just like I compartmentalize.
yes, because that's the same. Well, it's similar to like if I'm at a show and I see somebody who's brand new, it's their first time getting up doing stand-up, or first time, or like this is like their third set or something, and there are things that you overlook because you're like, they're gonna learn.
They'll get there.
They're learning. What they're coming with is good. What they're coming with is
they rep that 50 more times.
Exactly how they're starting is great. some, they're going to learn how to edit their jokes. They're going to learn more about stage presence and,
Yeah.
how to hold them, like all those things
Good
that
instincts.
the instincts, exactly. All those things that you're going to learn by repetition, by doing more sets and getting more practice. And and I'm more, I think I have a more critical eye or ear with someone who's been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
That it's like, you should know.
Yeah. You should
you should
Why
know.
are you still doing that?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you still doing that? Yeah, you should know, or if it's something like in terms of like the mechanics of it, like stage presence and stuff, it's like you should know not to do that or whatever. And in terms of delivery and performance and stuff, I also feel everyone's got a style. But I also think that like regardless of your style, that with experience, your style should be getting like cleaner, sharper.
Yeah.
You know what I
crisp.
mean? More exactly, more crisp, like getting more polished and everything. Yeah. And sometimes you see it right away. Like somebody new has all of that. And then sometimes I've noticed that it never happens.
Yeah.
Or it happens very, very slowly or something. But
yeah, and I think a lot of that just has to do like with what you're exposed to. And so I think that was like what the festival for me was just so amazing. Because I think if like that 1 week of seeing so many Black
different styles,
comedians in different styles was like a masterclass of what I could be.
Yes.
Versus where it could have taken me a year to see that much variety.
Oh yeah.
Just in, in just
I don't even know if I would have
shows.
seen that much in a year.
If not more, if not 5 years.
Yeah, because just in my community, like here, and even when I go to they're like, I think in Toronto, of like active comics. Female comics were a small group already.
Yeah.
Black female comics, I think active, like who perform at least once a week and stuff, I think we're only 3.
Yeah, and that's the
3
thing.
of us.
And then plus you get to that age where people are like having kids or whatever, or jobs, and then they age out, or they're just like, I can't because my life has gotten, and so then moving up that ladder, it's just like you just start to lose people. There's just attrition.
Right. And so it's like with the 3 of us here, and then I think they're in Toronto, maybe 4 active, like headline. They're all headliner level.
Yeah. So then once you've
that's
seen them
it
too,
here.
you already have that in your
mind. Exactly. I've seen them. I know them. I've worked with them.
Like, I mean, not to like diminish them. Like,
absolutely,
but
what I mean. Yes.
But in terms of like,
there's just so much more.
Help you learn all the possibilities.
Exactly. And like that week, I saw met so many different women. First of all, so many different women comics, and was exposed to so many different styles. It's different styles that it was like, within our community, like just like every community, there's a spectrum of everything, and that was amazing to see, and that there were people I'd watch them and I'd be like, oh, they remind me of this comic that I know, in Ottawa or in Montreal or something, like.
I remember coming to the fest with like some of my jokes on religion. I'm like, oh, maybe they're too harsh. I'm always this way. And then like immediately within like the first 2 sets, I'm like, oh no, I'm fine.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, ooh, like what if my stuff? I went in there thinking, what if my stuff is like too dirty? Or not dirty enough? Like what if like I'm at an extreme that it's not up to snuff? And then shortly after I was like, no, I fit right in. I'll fit right in here. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. And I played up the Canadian aspect of it too.
I love it. Right at the beginning of this, you said something like, you said A, B, Z, and I'm like, oh, she's Canadian.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't even thinking of that.
Like, oh
yeah. The A. I know there were a couple of times when I or with me, either me or my friend Rob said A, and someone was like,
B.
yeah, and I know our pronunciation of certain things and stuff like that. I know a few times I saw people like, oh, they're not from these parts like this, you know. They're not from these parts. That's
so funny. Americans, we just assume everybody's American.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Because I know going down, like Rob was like, oh, you should say something about make mention of like the wildfires, since like in New York the smoke had, and where the fires were originating, it was like not far from here that settled down, and like I think the week before, like the air quality was so bad, it was worse than it was here. And I was like, they're not gonna care, not gonna know. And then I think it was Mika the first night just went off about and Rob was like, you definitely have to make some mention of it. And I was like, yeah, because it was so funny. She went like, off. You're
welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So like most of my sets, I was like, sorry about the smoke, you know, like, you know, sorry about that, you know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so funny, because like the week before I had my voice lesson, and then I had my I went to my allergist, and both of them were like, oh my god, you should wear masks if you're going to New York. You should wear your mask the entire time. Like,
yeah.
But I probably should, you're right.
Yeah, I should have. I know I should have worn it here, because I know here the air quality was pretty bad a few days, where it was like all hazy, like it looked like fog, like it was really, really bad. You know, I tended to stay in those days. Those are the days I was like, I don't need to go out there. I'll just stay in here tonight. You know, I don't need to go anywhere, sort of thing. But I know one night, I went to perform, and I was like, I don't need to wear my mask. I'm not going to be outside that long. The next day I was all like, and like coughing and everything. And it was like, geez, like it should have, you know, I think I was outside total half an hour.
That's enough to get,
you know, like to walk to the car, walk to the, you know, park the car, walk to the venue, all of that. I think total half an hour I was outside, not counting like being in the car, but still. And it felt like I'd smoked like 2 packs of cigarettes or something. Like it was really bad. And I was like,
I know. I'm like, is this what smokers feel like?
I know.
This is horrible.
Yeah, it was just, it was terrible. It was just an awful, and just that cough, like coughing, your lungs trying to clean themselves, sort of thing. It was just like
the black comes out in the sink, and you're like, oh,
you're like, what's happening? Like that's like, no, it's terrible. It's terrible. And I used to be a smoker. I smoked for many, many years. I quit. It's been a long time. I quit like 14 years ago. But yeah, when stuff like that happens, I'm always like, how did I do that voluntarily? Like I actually lit something on fire and breathed it in and was fine with it, you know, found it relaxed me, sort of thing.
Well, that's the wild thing. I used to run a lot, and people that I knew who were smokers and also runners, they would always be like whooping my ass, and I'd be like, how? You're hurting my lungs. How are you asking me? Like it gives you superpowers or something, I swear.
Oh yeah, but like now it's like I can't even, like, how did I do that how did I do that for so many years? And you know, like, it's just, and I have asthma. But it wasn't like, I was diagnosed actually the year after I quit, because everything else, it was like, because I was like, I'm having a hard time breathing. Well, maybe you might want to try not smoking. You know, so it's like they I remember my doctor saying, like, until you quit, I'm not going to test you for any respiratory issues because you're smoking. You know, it's not the point of, like, sort of thing. So so when I did quit, and I want to say maybe 6-7 months, and I was like, I'm having trouble breathing. You know, it's, you know, can I go? And she sent me for an allergy test, or an asthma test. And she's like, you have asthma.
That thing, and you're like,
where they like push things into your face, you're breathing in like all these toxins, and you're like, okay,
Yeah,
help me,
that's bad. That's
sort
bad.
of thing. And they're like, you have asthma.
Oh my God.
So
Yeah.
oh my God, yeah. So I don't even know how I did that for so many years, but
Yeah. Do you ever have
yeah.
that fear? Like now, this is like my new thing that I've had since being diagnosed with asthma. It's like, I'm going to do a show. Am I going to get up on stage and not be able to? I'd be
No, I
like, wait,
don't worry
hold on.
about
I'm
that.
about to kill it with this song as soon as I catch my
Oh,
breath.
yeah, it's also different. Yeah, that's also different. I'm not singing,
Oh
which is
man.
a different set of breathing, but there have been times where um whether it was like maybe allergy season or something,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm out of breath,
That
where it's
sucks.
like I can't, like I've gotten onto stage and I'm like, but I haven't caught my breath, or I can't catch my breath, and that's usually asthma
Mm-hmm.
related, that I just feel like I'm out of breath all the time. It doesn't happen often.
Mm-hmm.
But I keep my inhale one. I find once, I think when that was happening, I was just really sporadic with like my daily inhaler, which
Mm-hmm.
makes a difference. But since I've been consistent with it, doing it
Helps.
every day, like that doesn't happen nearly as often. But my fear is that my throat's going to dry up and I'm just going to start coughing. That's what I worry about. That is like I'm not hydrated enough,
Oh
you
yeah,
know
see, I started doing Gatorade, which I'm not drinking today, which is why I sound. But yeah, Gatorade helps, or some sort
Gatorade
of
helps.
electrolyte drink. Because it's like I would like before shows, I'd be like chugging water, and I'd still get on stage and try to sing with a dry throat, which you cannot do very well. And
Mm.
then I switched to electrolyte drinks, and that helps.
Oh, really?
So
Okay, maybe I'll. Yeah,
protein.
I have, like, it's not like I have choked on stage. I haven't,
Mhm.
but I have that
No,
fear.
but yeah,
Yeah, just like the mouth
it
being
makes a
dry and then the
difference.
throat being dry,
Yeah.
because it was happening, recently. Fortunately, not on stage, where I'd be like either talking on the phone or something, and my throat would just dry up,
Yep.
and I'd have this like raspy thing, and I'm like, I don't
Why
want
do
that to
I
happen
sound
on
like I'm
stage.
80 years old?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sound like I was just smoked like 40 cigarettes at once,
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
thing. So I don't want to sound, I don't, that's my fear of like
Yeah.
drying
Yeah.
up
Yeah.
and like having a coughing fit on
Mm-hmm.
stage, and
Mm-hmm.
not like a I'm gonna
Yeah.
clear my throat, but like the type where you feel your eyes are gonna pop out of your head, like
Yeah.
like a hard coughing
Also,
fit.
somebody's filming it, so then
Yes,
it's on camera, and
exactly,
then it goes
exactly.
viral.
Exactly, of me choking to death on
Comedian
stage.
literally chokes on stage.
Literally chokes to death on stage. The type where you're all red and your eyes are like bugging out and you're
Yeah.
sweating because it was like
Yeah.
so violent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's
Ah.
my fear, of violent coughing fit
Oh
on
my gosh.
stage, or falling off the stage. That's
Oh yeah.
another thing. I want to say, I think this was in June. I did a show at a pub, at a bar,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a set up like stage because they usually have bands and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
I got up there, and I'm always aware of like how close to the edge I am. And this particular day, I started like this, the mic was further back. And so
Mm-hmm.
I took the mic and I was moving forward, and then I stopped and I was doing everything. And one part of my act, I know I looked down and I had my foot, like I was saying, making some gesture of I'm walking, and I looked down,
You almost walked
and
off.
if I had put my foot down, it would have been off the stage. And I was like, oh, I just backed up, and because I didn't realize how close to the edge I would have,
Mm-hmm.
how close to the edge I moved. And like, I have
That's really
flashbacks
episode.
like that. Like, had I fallen off, I would have hurt myself like badly,
Oh my
because I would have
gosh.
fallen like 2 feet off the stage. And if you're not prepared,
Yep, yep, yep.
yeah, I would have hurt myself badly.
I've seen some injuries. I've seen some injuries in improv is bad for that. Because it can be very physical and it's not
Yes.
like blocked like a play. It's everything's happening in the moment. And I've seen people like stand on chairs, and then there are the theater chairs that everybody stood on, and then the chair's
Yeah.
broken, things
Mm.
like that, or somebody's like rolled over. I saw two people once cross behind the stage where it had kind of a narrow crossway, and they smacked each other, and one person broke their nose and had to
Oh, oh my
urgent
God.
care. So like theater is dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Saying.
No, the arts,
The
dangerous.
arts,
Dangerous. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, because yeah, if I had fallen off that stage, that would have been horrendous. And I don't like move around a lot. Like I don't like pace, because most of the time the stages are small.
Yeah,
most of the time
it's not
a full theater stage. It's just a small, you know. But yeah, I'm always conscious of how, like, where I am. And for this day, I think the fact that I had to move forward because I was so far back, just I didn't my spatial awareness was not on, sort of thing. And it wasn't till I
almost
looked down and I was like, oh, I bit it. Exactly. Because that would have been like, geez, just the thought of it, it's like, oh God, you know. Yeah, it would have been terrible. That would have been terrible. Because that was about a week or two before New York.
Oh no, because then you went to the you had like a cast.
Yeah, if I'd broken my exactly. If I'd broken my leg, I probably wouldn't have been able to go, or something. Yeah, and then we never would have met. I'd chip all my teeth or something. I don't know.
I actually have a chip on one of my teeth when I was a kid. I jumped off a swing and then I turned around and the swing hit me in the face. Oh, and my tooth broke off, so that one of these was fake.
Oh wow. My sister had something like that. We were in a station wagon. I think it's station wagons don't really exist anymore, but because it's minivans and now. Yeah. But it was fun to sit in like the storage spot of the station wagon. And I remember we were in Toronto and there were other people in the car. And so how many of us? There may be like 3 or 4 kids in this back part. No, there were more than that, because we were sitting like around the periphery. Oh, there were too many kids back there.
I mean, like in those old days, nobody cared how many.
Yeah, there was no child safety. Exactly. It's just like
18 children. It's fine.
Yeah, you all fit. It's okay. Everyone's comfortable. Fine. So there were a bunch of us sitting like around, and I remember my sister was sitting with her back on the door, which her back on the door, and like we were on the side. And I think my father was driving. I think we were in our car. My father was driving. And something happened. He had to slam on the brakes, and my sister flew forward and hit the back of the seat with her face, with her mouth, and broke her tooth. Yeah, I think she was about 8 or 9, something like that.
But she's fine, right?
Yeah, she's fine now. She's fine now, but she just went right. Because we weren't restrained back there. We were just.
Oh, of course not. Maybe you had a pillow.
Yeah, maybe.
A blanket. Because you were taking a nap back there.
Because it was fun. It was fun to sit back there. And just this sudden stop. And because she was sitting in the middle, she just went flying forward. Like we all went like this, but she flew forward and hit her mouth right on the thing and broke her tooth in half. Yeah.
A number of times I was in the back of somebody's pickup truck as a child.
Or standing. Stuff like that.
Tricks.
And they're on the highway, sort of thing.
Yeah, going like 80.
Oh my Lord. Oh my Lord. But well, this has been a wonderful discussion. Yeah. And would you like to play a game I call Crazy Questions?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So I have a list of questions here that I've curated from the internet. So they range from very silly to very deep, and I have 249 of them.
Oh my God.
But we're not going to do all of them.
I don't know if we have time for that.
No, we don't have time for that. Okay. So we'll do maybe two or three.
Perfect.
So if you will pick a number, and I will ask you the corresponding question.
Okay, anywhere from 1 to 249.
Yes.
Okay, let's go with 42.
42. How many people do you fall in love with every day?
Oh, every day. I'm going to say 100%. And I say that as an improviser and as a writer, because in order to write about other people, in order to connect with other people on stage, and to be an artist, somebody said this once, I can't remember who it was, so this is not my quote, but an artist falls in love with anyone they create art with. You know, and it's just like you have to appreciate and love people to be a creator, to be a writer. And even people that you may find abhorrent, you're like, there's something about them. And the reason that I even have such a passionate response towards them is because I see something in them maybe that I don't like in myself, or, you know, that I don't like in the world, but it's also human. And I understand it, even if it is wrong. And so through love, maybe we can find a way to help that person in the world, hopefully.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Because I'm like, I have crushes on a lot of people at a different time.
I mean,
mine isn't that deep. Mine wasn't deep at all. It's just like, yeah, I also have a crush on somebody. They never know.
They're just cute.
Yeah, they're just cute. Yeah. Yeah, like they usually never know.
No,
and
no.
it's and it's
no,
just
back in my crushing days, I would be like, I'm just gonna pine on them.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna pine from afar. They'll never know. Exactly. That's my vibe. It's like he'll never know. He'll never know.
But in my heart.
In my heart knows, but he will never. You know, like, that's exactly. So if you could pick another number.
Oh yes. Let's go 76.
76. Mm-hmm. Would you rather live in a cave or live in a treehouse?
Treehouse.
Less
snakes.
Yes, that was my. Although there could be tree snakes, but I think the likelihood of a snake in a cave is much higher than in a tree. And because at first I was like maybe a cave, but I was like no, a cave is going to be dark. There's going to be all kinds of dank. There's going to be all kinds of weird
moldy smell. I got to be in the sun.
Yeah, the tree, exactly, in a tree. You know, photosynthesis, all kinds of stuff, fresh air, sunlight. Flowers. Yeah, tree all the way. All the way for sure. Okay, let's do one more.
Let's do 3.
Number 3? Okay. What's the scariest thing you've ever done?
Scariest thing. There's been a lot, but probably I once went scuba diving and I don't know how to swim.
Wow.
And the scariest part of that was actually when you scuba dive, you have to you hold your mask and then you tip backwards into the water. And I don't like doing backward stuff. Like in my mind, like
because you can't see. You're not seeing what's. But like, you go backwards.
When I was a youth, I wanted to be like a gymnast, but then I realized I don't have the courage.
I don't want to go backwards
things. I don't like to go backwards. So that plus water plus the unknown was terrifying. Just that movement was probably one of the scariest things I ever done. And there was like definitely a moment where a full minute where I wrestled with myself.
Wow.
Where I was like, maybe I should just bail. Maybe I should just, and it was hilarious because my husband, he's like a water baby. He loves all the water. He's great with it. And I'm a land creature. But I wanted to experience this because he's like, no, it's so awesome. You're gonna love it. And then like a week or two before we had watched like Dateline or something, which we never watched. It was just like on, but it was like, there was like murder underneath the water.
The man who left his wife, he cut her cord and he swam up and left her down there. I saw that.
Like, why did we see this the week before? So there was that, and then just like all the terror, like I'm like drowning is probably like my worst fear. And then I got in the water and then my mask started filling up with water and like I had to learn in the moment how to clear my mask and all that. And then I couldn't get down. They had to add more weights on me. It was a fiasco because at the top is actually the worst place to be because of the waves and the boat, and you're like, I'm smacking the boat, and it's very scary. But then when you get down, it's cool as fuck. He was 100% right. It's highly recommended.
How did you maneuver not being able to swim? Like,
because
were you tethered to somebody?
You don't need to know how to swim to dive. Really, you do. You should.
You should. Okay, you should.
But it's encouraged. It was a ghetto dive master. And he was.
Piano dive master.
I'm not going to give him a shout out because he should not have been doing what he was doing, but he did it because I was with a small group of very experienced divers and they're like, we got your back. And so he basically held my hand. I was right there. It was one of the most magical. So it was one of the scariest things I've ever done, but it was also one of the most magical, rewarding things I've ever done.
Wow.
So highly recommend.
Wow.
And so now I'm trying to learn how to swim, and so I can get my certification. And then of course the pandemic happened, and I couldn't continue with my swim lessons. So now I'm hoping to pick that back up soon.
Oh wow! Because I know how to swim, but I don't know how good I would be deep underwater. Because I've always had this thing about like seeing things underwater, or like like the underneath of a boat. Like there's something about that. Seeing the underneath of a boat that just creeps me out. So I don't know if
it's like I how can I explain it? Have you ever seen like the Grand Canyon or anything like that?
Yeah.
Something that's just like so amazing and awesome that you're just like like at a loss for words. Being underwater, everything's so otherworldly and so awesome that it really does kind of knock any other thought out of your head. Also because it's such a unique environment, like at least for me, and everybody's different. I know some people panic and freak out, but I'm more like I'm really good in like a bad situation. So like I'm just like, Sheri, you cannot fucking freak out. Like you just can't.
You're in the ocean deep.
I'm in the
you cannot freak out.
There's no freaking out here. And so then my brain is just like focus, which I think is also part of performer brain. I feel like performers are good in crises because we're like, you know what? Lights are on. My set has started. Time to deliver. I'll worry
regardless
about
of what's happening. You've got to,
asthma's happening. I can't breathe.
Exactly. I'm coughing. I gotta continue. I fell off the stage. I gotta continue.
And then like afterwards, everybody's gonna be like, that's the best set you ever did. Because part of your brain just dissociates, right? And you just get it done. And so it was kind of like that. I went into that part of my brain where I was just like, and you see a turtle go by. There was like a hammerhead shark off in the distance. Wow. And it's quiet. And so the dive master's just like pointing out things, and you're like, and you got your your air on your back. So like, I was actually like, no, it's pretty secure to know that the air is right here. So like, no, it's chill. Like getting down into the water is the hard part.
Okay. Wow. Because it does seem like peaceful and all of that. I just don't know.
Chill as fuck.
I don't know how I know I wouldn't be chill as fuck getting into the water. Maybe once I was in there, I'd be okay. And
it was actually my second attempt when I got down, because the first attempt I got on the boat, realized I have motion sickness and needed Dramamine, and so I couldn't go in the water because I was too nauseous. And so I laid in the boat until the round of divers came back, and as they were coming up out of the water, I puked over the side of the boat onto one of the divers. The first day. And he was like, it's fine. He's in the water.
He's like, this happens all the time.
But then the second day, I took the Dramamine and I was able to finally get down in the water.
Wow. Oh my God.
So that happened.
Puked in the ocean. Check.
Bucket list. Done. On another diver.
On another diver in the ocean.
I was like,
Is it true that when you're resurfacing, you've got to like breathe everything out or something? Like breathe all your air out?
I think that's more relevant to people who are doing like super, super deep. In the beginning, you don't go that deep. Because it's like, it's something, and I'm not a professional in this, but it's something about the air in the tanks is compressed. And so it behaves differently in your lungs when you're down at depths than it does and that's part of what certification will teach me.
Would teach you, right?
How to articulate that so that because that's actually the bigger issue is like, you're down there, shit is chill, you run out of air. Or
and I know there's pressure, there's more pressure and stuff.
The deeper you go, the more pressure there is. And then, so like if you go super, super deep, but then for some reason you need to come up fast, you can't just go straight up to the surface. You have to come up a little bit, wait a certain amount of time, come up a little bit more, wait, come up a little bit more, like that. Otherwise, bad things happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And what's it called when you're on the surface and you just have a mask with the
Snorkeling.
Snorkeling. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and snorkeling's fun too, but it's because you're at the surface, there's the wave. So unless it's like the most placid day, it can be super choppy. We went snorkeling in I think we were in Hawaii, and it was like the choppiest day, and we should not have done it. And I was just fighting, and I had a shitty mask. And I just, like, water was in, and there was like a line, and so I was able to like follow that. And I'm like at like 80% ability of being able to swim. My like last 20% is actually my breathing. And actually, I did this before I was diagnosed with asthma, and so I'm wondering now if I have the rematch, will I be able to? Because I was like putting my head up and not being able to get air in.
Yeah, I'm sure that was the asthma.
So like I can swim across the pool holding my breath, but I'm like in the water, I need to be able to get air. And I recognize now it was probably asthma the whole time.
Yeah, most likely. Most likely.
So.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. I'm so glad we were able to have I'm glad you were able to talk with me today.
Yeah, thank you.
So yes, this has been a lot of fun, and I will include your social media in the show notes. Do you have any shows, improv or stand up coming up? This will probably end in September, but
yeah, probably something
anything...
big coming up by then. But as for now, no, I got nothing.
Okay.
I'm very much a pickup basketball performer at this stage in my career because I'm doing a lot of writing and stuff, and so it's just like every now and then somebody's like, "You want to do a show?" And I'm like, "Yeah," or I see an open mic and I'm like, "I guess I'll do that tomorrow."
Okay.
But I'm very and then like I go into phases, and then every now and then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna write a show or whatever, and then do something more polished. But right now I'm just chilling and I'm just enjoying it.
Awesome. So thank you. And
Thank
whenever
you.
if you would like to come back at any
Anytime.
point, please let me know. I'd love to have you back.
Yeah.
And thank you again. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.